you got your face in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm here to tell a story about how my parents met. A little background, my mom is about 5'10", 5'11", so she's pretty tall for a woman, and my father is 5 foot, and I take after him. So, my mother and my father were both in the Air Force, and they never really ran in the same circle as my dad was a paratrooper, so he was always like really tiny, 5 foot, like 100. He actually didn't break 100 pounds until he was about 22, so he was like tiny his entire life. He jumped out of planes. He was very aerodynamic. My mom was mostly in charge of the back end stuff, loading planes and stuff like that, and they didn't really have a lot of similar friends. However, somehow their friends matched them up. It was a blind date, and so my mom was there at a club, and my dad walks in, and immediately she sees the guy that he's with, and she's like, oh, that is the guy that I'm set up with, and she immediately just takes off. She goes out the back door. He's very short, and she doesn't like that, so she leaves out the back door and walks back to her house on the base, which is more like an apartment building in like a huge brick building, and my dad somehow saw her leave, and he was like, I just remember she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, and I knew she left because I was short, but I had to try. And my dad was definitely a ladies' man. You know, he was really short, but a lot of women kind of were pursued by him. He definitely kept on, you know, I know I'm short, but here, let me show you, I'm very charismatic. And so he knocked on my mom's door after he followed her back to her apartment, which I always thought was a little creepy, but the way that my mom explains it, it wasn't, apparently. So she, you know, opens the door, and there's this short little dude, and it's my dad, and they started talking, and he was like, you know, we don't have to go anywhere, we can just stay in for tonight, like, I'm only in town for, like, this weekend, let's just hang out tonight and talk. And they were up for, like, 15 hours talking. And at the end of the night, my dad just, like, looked at my mom and was just like, I know you ran out the door, but I want you to know you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And there's just one rule, you can't fall in love with me. And it was at that moment when my mom shut the door that she said that she fell in love with him, because someone that short and cocky definitely had to be worth it. So that's how my parents met. I know.